And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
What's up, RBLR Nation? Welcome to the show. We're coming off another Bucs victory. Well, I don't want to say another. They've been losing recently. But, they finally won this week. Another comeback victory in overtime. Ryan Suckup, coming through. It's some exciting stuff. And I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Mr. Musab. I'd love to hear those deep Dorset tones. Bless the people with them. Say what's up to them.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the thousands in the crowd and the millions watching on TV, let's get ready to talk about some Tampa Bay football, all right? I am nothing to be happy back here. As you mentioned it already, Carter, it wasn't like a little blowout win or a blowout loss, fortunately. But it was a Christmas miracle, It's exactly what you expected. So, I don't know. I guess that was my Christmas gift.
For sure. Yeah, it was definitely a wonderful little holiday gift. Happy holidays to the listeners as well. It's that wonderful time of year. It was definitely a wonderful present. Let's get into it. We've been dancing around it. The Bucs beat the Cardinals this weekend, 19-16 on the road in Arizona. They managed to pull it out at the end in OT despite another lackluster performance from this offense. They put up a single touchdown for the 8th time this season. Well, excuse me, they've also scored no touchdowns in a few games. So either a touchdown or fewer for the 8th time this season, which is just really discouraging. But, it happens. They won. A win's a win. They're now 7-8. They're a game closer to clinching the NFC South. And that's really all there is to it. The defense still playing really well. They forced 3 turnovers. 2 of them only counted. One of them was a Hail Mary interception at the end. But, the defense looked pretty good. Offense, so. What are some initial thoughts on the game, Musab? How'd you feel watching this game? Obviously an exciting ending, but just overall thoughts on the game so far.
Well, for me, Carter, overall thoughts on the game that it was back and forth. The O was looking sloppy. The defense was coming through. Fortunately, we were keeping it a close game. Okay. Tom Brady said himself that, as long as we keep it close, we can keep it up in the fourth quarter, we'll come through or something. Which is, I guess so, I don't know, but sometimes we don't come through. But on top of that, it's just, you're always happy with the win, Carter, but as a fan, you think about who we beat.
Right. Yeah.
And it's one thing. Exactly. So it's one thing if we, we're beating the top contenders, but this was expected. This was something as a Buccaneers fan. This was something as, knowing we have Brady and the rest of our offensive weapons like Mike Evans, Godwin, Gage, and even playoff regular season Lenny. You're thinking, okay, fine. Maybe we may not run them over, but we're going to win. You know what I'm saying? But no, it wasn't like that. It was an OT win. Always happy with the win. A win is a win, but got a lot of work to do. We're about to go, deep into it and all that. But what about you?
Yeah, like you said, you got to look at who they're playing. And not only are they playing the Cardinals, one of the worst teams in the NFL, they're playing the Cardinals with Trace McSorley as their quarterback. And, he's their 3rd string. Kyler Murray's done for the year. Colt McCoy was out. It was like you said, you weren't, because the Bucs haven't really steamrolled anyone so far this year. But you were at least expecting a more confident victory, and this was not a very confident victory, but it was a victory nonetheless, like you said. So we'll kind of start with digging deep. We'll start with Mr. RBLR. We haven't done this in a while. It's a Bucs victory. We got a kind of the MVP, Mr. RBLR of the game. Mine has to be Ryan Suckup. He game-winning kick. He had a great game. He's been fantastic this year. Super accurate kicking the ball. 4 for 4. A little bit of a faux action. Shout out to Wendy's and Moses Malone, the OG faux. But yeah, Ryan Suckup's my Mr. RBLR. How about you, Musab? Who's yours?
For me, Carter, it's the defense. Okay, and I only say that because, listen, Tom Brady did not have that Brady-esque, those kind of stats again this past week. But he definitely did come through, in the fourth quarter and the overtime with the rest of the guys. But I'm gonna have to give my MVP to the defense because listen, they set up every offense, holding the Cardinals either to a field goal or almost nothing. Okay, I want to see Brady, be more Brady next week, but MVP of this past game definitely goes for the defense for me, just because it was a dogfight. This was something I was expecting against maybe the 49ers. If we lost the 49ers by, a few points or something, I'd be like, okay, listen, we on the defensive side, we did our best we could, but offensive side is still a mystery. Well, when it comes to something like this game, I'm thinking, well, hey, the defense came through. Offense at the end did come through, of course, but yeah, that's my MVP of the game, goes with the whole defense. Just the fact that we were able to come through. I mean, we're talking about people like Devin White coming in through, even our DBs, doing pretty well. D White, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, getting some hits on McSorley, Levante David going off. Even, you think about our cornerbacks, we're thinking like Sean Murphy Bunting, putting in that work against DeAndre Hopkins and Carlton Davis. Okay. So for me, it's like, I think defensively we were able to pick up on it, and I'm happy we were able to come back. But those are just things that we look on the exterior. Oh, okay. Fortunately, it was a low scoring game because of defense on both ends did well. Being a Buccaneers fan, I'm giving congratulations to the defense, but on the offensive side, we have a lot more work to do.
For sure.
The O-line, utilizing our offensive weapons. It's a whole domino effect. But for me, yeah, defense is my MVP.
Hey, that's it. That's a good one. Mr. RBLR is plural, if you will. But yeah, I'm with you. The defense played wonderful. I love that you mentioned the cornerbacks locking down the receivers. DeAndre Hopkins having one catch for 4 yards. That's ridiculous. That shouldn't happen. But it's a credit to the Bucs secondary, and also maybe a bit of credit to Trace McSorley being a third string quarterback. But yeah, it was a great game defensively. I'm definitely with you. If you give up 16 points in an NFL game, you should win that game 9 times out of 10. And fortunately they did. But like you mentioned, the offensive struggles were apparent. Brady threw 2 interceptions. They were both pretty ugly. Yeah, it was just not a great game. Not a great game offensively. And another one. It's more than a trend. It's just who they are at this point, unfortunately. But were there any surprises? Anything that jumped out at you, like, oh wow, I wasn't really expecting that from this game, Musab? Anything that kind of, oh hey, what happened there?
For me, Carter, it's just thinking about the O-line. I just mentioned to you it's the whole domino effect. And for me, I just feel that, the defense has its ups and downs, which is natural. I think we're doing great. But for the offense, if you really think about it, a win is a win. But then again, I mean, this offensive line is kind of, listen, you look at this game back right here. All right. You have our offensive linemen who are lined up against a Pro Bowl pass rusher. All right. You got them on double team. Well, hopefully, you're trying to get them on double team. It didn't really work out too much, but then again, I mean, I'm also thinking about, the next game and every single game from now on, I'm thinking it's just really all eyes on the offensive line. I don't want to go too deep into the injuries just yet, but we're dealing with issues on our offensive line. If we cannot have people protect Tom Brady, then what do you expect him to do? He's not God. I understand he's phenomenal, okay? But you have to understand that if you have these huge beasts, that's what I'll just say, all right? These huge beasts coming at you. What do you expect to do? You're looking for your guys who are open. Sometimes they're open, sometimes they're not, okay? So for me, it's the offensive line. It's all eyes on the offensive line, and listen, we're already scraping away with some of these wins. So I'm not going to act all sunshine and rainbows and say, oh, yeah, we fix our offensive line and boom, it's a ticket to the Super Bowl. It's more along the lines of, listen, if we're going to look better, that is the biggest thing to fix. What do you think?
For sure. No, I'm with you. Yeah, the offensive line's a huge issue. And a lot of people have been saying, like, oh, it's the play calling, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. Brady's lost his touch. And, it's certainly a combination of all those things. But the offensive line being so hampered and being so banged up, it's tough because, you look at Brady, he didn't get sacked at all. He only got hit 4 times. But, I mean, good gracious, he was averaging, 5.8 yards per attempt and 8.8 yards per completion. That's just not going to get it done. That's not pushing the ball down the field enough. And, a lot of that has to do with the fact that, if he feels as if he doesn't have enough time, he's 45 years old. He ain't getting hit. He's just going to dump it off. He's going to get rid of it. He's going to hit his checkdowns. I mean, shit, Leonard Fournette had 9 catches. That's Leonard Fournette, great running back. We love playoff Lenny, but he's not a receiving back. He's not Christian McCaffrey. He should not be racking up catches like that. So yeah, that's a huge problem. And like I said, it's symptomatic of the Bucs struggles this year offensively. But this just felt like a kind of another game for the Bucs, just more of the same. Like we keep talking about these offensive struggles, and the defense is playing just well enough to keep them in these games. So let's take a little bit more of a fun approach to this because it's the holiday season. We can't be all doom and gloom. So Musab, what are 3 Christmas presents that the Bucs could use? Just moving forward for them to have success in the playoffs. 3 things that you wish that they had found under their Christmas tree on Sunday.
Well, 3 is too many. Well, I'll say the first thing is obviously I just mentioned, just with their offensive line, whatever we have right now, just doing it all, giving our best to whatever. But on top of that, utilizing the weapons we have, this is not some, crappy team we have. This is not some team that we're expecting to rebuild. The fact that we lose these games, and, things like, or games like, the Cardinals or the Panthers. We won against the Cardinals, but we lost against the Panthers. But, there are expectations for the Buccaneers organization, being that we are under Brady's umbrella. And for me, it's not that I want, oh my God, we're Brady. Oh, Brady's on our team and we have to do perfect. But it's more along the lines of, there are issues we need to fix. Okay. My 3 wishes are, first, with the offensive line, doing our best, giving it as much as we got. We're going through our own struggles, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just hoping something works out, something gets better. All right. I'm not expecting something perfect to line up this next upcoming weekend, but then again, I'm just hoping to see improvement. On top of that, the coaching strategy. All right. I don't want to come at Todd Bowles, the rest of his gang, but I do still think that we are playing a little bit conservative, and we need to be a little bit more aggressive. All I have to say when it comes to that is this: I don't know why it's like everyone wakes up the last like 3-4 minutes, of the fourth quarter, and boom, we're coming in through or something. But why can't we be doing that throughout the whole game? Why can't we keep up this tempo? There's a reason why Tom Brady's screaming at all these guys on the benches and stuff. All right. It's because, he's trying to keep the action going on. He's trying to keep these boys fired up. All right. My 3rd wish, this one's a little bit hard. I mean, I really had just 2 main wishes. My 3rd wish is just the chemistry clicks well together more on the defense. They're not perfect, but they still have their issues. And I'm, looking at this Panthers game we have, upcoming ahead. There are advantages we have. It's a sloppy cornerback, situation looking right now. I hope we take advantage of that. But then again, it all comes down to, well, how much time does Brady have to look around to give it to these boys for emergency situations? That's the part of football. Things don't, plays don't work out as usual. You have to do something. And if you have a bunch of big guys coming at you, I don't know, you're going to hesitate. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So, yeah, there's that. Those are my 3 wishes.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, definitely with you. The first one that I would have probably wanted was a healthy Ryan Jensen. That would be number one, but that kind of goes with your offensive line point for sure. Second is definitely a new offensive coordinator, and that goes with your game plan. Right, we're kind of the same mindset. And the third one that I would have wished for is just some more turnovers. I mean, good lord, the defense is, it's stout. It's able to limit yardage, but they're not great. They're one of the worst teams in takeaways in the NFL, and that's tough to do, especially now that this offense seems to be not only playing poor enough to not score points, but playing even worse, and they're giving away the ball. So if you're going to have that, then you got to get some takeaways, and they haven't really been able to do so. But taking a bit of a broader look at this team, we're coming down to it. The playoffs are coming up. They're looking like they're, knock on wood, more than likely going to win the division, for better or for worse. So they got to beat either the Panthers or the Falcons. And so I guess my question is, do you think that they can still make the playoffs? I mean, and not only can they make the playoffs, but are they going to do any damage when they make it, Musab? I mean, that's kind of the big question.
Ooh, I love that. I love that question. My first answer is this game is the biggest, especially because we already lost the Panthers. So I'm really, really hoping this game is like their kind of last straw, their last kind of, indication that, listen, we really, really need to step it up. But on top of that, your second question, can they really do any damage? I don't think so. Looking at it right now, I don't think so. We're barely scraping by these wins, okay? And it's already looking ugly for us. There's not a specific person to blame. It's a whole team kind of effort. But it's part of the game, guys. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the game. Football happens, injuries happen. We're banged up right now, unfortunately. And also we have gone through some changes on the player side and, the coaching side as well. Okay. So I guess my question for you is, or two questions is, yeah, I mean, do you think, we're going to make any damage? Because I don't think so. And on top of that, this is something we've talked about before, Carter, about the whole coaching situation and all that. So the spotlight isn't on Todd Bowles. It's really more on Byron Leftwich, huh? Is that what you think?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your first question, I'm with you. I don't think they're going to make any real noise in the playoffs, because if they can barely beat Trace McSorley and the Cardinals, then they're not going to be able to defeat the Cowboys or the Eagles or the Vikings or any of the actual NFL teams right now that are going to make the playoffs. But yeah, to answer your second question, I mean, absolutely, the spotlight is shining incredibly brightly on Byron Leftwich. The Bucs are one of the worst scoring offenses in the NFL, and for better or for worse, he's the head honcho there. And so for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out. And unfortunately, he's going to take the brunt of that. And, whether he deserves it or not, whether it's really, truly the play calling, whatever the case may be, they're a bottom five offense, and offensive coordinators do not keep their jobs very often when a team that with this much talent underperforms as much as they have. So yeah, I'm with you. I think the spotlight is shining incredibly brightly, maybe a little too brightly, on Byron Leftwich. I think he's going to be gone for sure. But like you said, Todd Bowles has been his clock management's been tough this year. There have been some huge questions about, getting the motivation out of the players. I mean, you see these little clips that the Bucs post, and everyone just seems so bored when he's talking. So it's kind of brutal, but we don't know what's truly going on in the clubhouse, in the locker room. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough question to answer. How about you, Musab? You think that the spotlight's shining incredibly brightly on Byron? You think it's more Bowles, a little bit of both? How are we feeling about it?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, it is all eyes on the offense. The defense has their ups and downs, as I already mentioned. I do think that, being Todd Bowles was the defensive coordinator last year. He has that more defensive approach. I do think that, the defensive side is fine, but yeah, we need to work on the offense. And I mean, I guess my question for you, actually, throwing it back to you actually right now is, are we kind of just getting lucky with where we stand right now? And, there are defenses, not just on our team, but, throughout the whole league that, that do come through and a successful playoff Super Bowl team needs to have a fiery offense, and we're not looking fiery at all right now. And I just think that, I don't know, are we kind of getting lucky right now? Because, the offense is looking off this year. Okay, we have all these offensive line injuries, skill position injuries. The running game is looking weak. In a normal year, I don't think that we would be making the playoffs. I mean, this is just, we're scraping by. I don't know. I mean, for my Brady fans, maybe you're thinking, oh, because of Brady, he still makes things happen, but we're scraping by. And this is not something ideal. We have a huge kind of break, with these kind of, random little scrape wins. I mean, look at this last game. All right. We had a huge break just getting that little fumble recovery when, the Cardinals rookie Keontae Ingram fumbled that pitch from Trace McSorley. All right. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how often these things actually happen when it's the starter. Okay. You said it yourself, Carter. I mean, this is Trace McSorley we're playing. I don't know that much about Trace McSorley right now and before. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. Yeah, I heard good things about it. Listen, I watch football and all that. I knew about him in Penn State and all that. But last thing I heard, he was on the Ravens, behind Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley or something like that. But it just makes me think, the fact that we're scraping away wins against backup or not even like third string quarterbacks. Okay. Our defense did a phenomenal job. It's just now, okay, well, our defense was able to stop Trace McSorley and the boys. All right. But what about our offense? Can we take off? Can we take advantage of these opportunities?
Yeah.
Their defense, I guess, maybe came in high. I don't know how much to expect. That, you got people like J.J. Watt on their lineup, but we just have to do better. We have a lot of issues, and I guess this is just where we're at right now, Carter. It's time to pinpoint the issues.
Yeah, I mean, kind of to answer your question that you'd asked previously, and you kind of just answered it for me. They're incredibly lucky. They're very fortunate that they're in the NFC South. It's the worst division in football by far. Well, maybe not by far. The AFC South is pretty bad too. But yeah, I mean, they're in a division with the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons. They get a pretty cupcake easy schedule, and yet they're still almost screwing it up. So it's still pretty depressing. So yeah, they're incredibly fortunate to even be in the playoff conversation right now. There are plenty of teams with similar records that are long shots to make the playoffs. I mean, shoot, there was news that came out today about the Las Vegas Raiders that they're going to bench Derek Carr because, they just don't want to have to pay him. They don't want to have him get hurt and then him fail a physical and then his money becomes guaranteed. So, there are other teams with similar records because the Raiders are only a game worse than the Bucs. That are very much just in shut it down. We'll just wait till next season mode. So yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. But whatever. The Bucs are in the NFC South. They're gonna hopefully win the division, and that's how it's gonna be. And they'll be knocked out in the first round. Whatever. But it's not lucky. It's not just getting lucky with where they stand is the RBLR store. There's no questions about what the competition is because there is no competition with the RBLR shop. You go on there, you're going to see some sick threads, you're going to see some dope stuff. And, I got to bless you with a promo code. It's Cannon, CANNONS. That's 10% off your order. The link's in the description. Check it out. You're going to find yourself some dope threads for making maybe your New Year's resolution is to work out more. So you'll get, a cool tank top, get some exercise and everything, get big, get buff, and, just check us out. Check us out. It's a great time. It's a great time.
Or maybe your resolution is just to look better.
That's right.
And you can only look better and when you're repping something like RBLR Sports. So, it ain't about the New Year's resolution, I mean, with all due respect, I do respect every single one's New Year's resolution, but hey, up your fit game, get you some RBLR sports gear, and that's really about it. All right, I understand Christmas is over, but it ain't too late. It never is.
That's right. Maybe a late Christmas present. Absolutely. Yeah. So, anyways, after that shameless plug, we're going to move on to the Bucs Panthers game. It's a big one. It's a big one. Like me and Musab have talked about Excuse me, Musab and I have talked about. I got to use proper grammar. But we've been covering this team all year, and this is the big one. This is the big one. It's for kind of all the marbles, so to speak. I think Todd Bowles said that in one of his meetings. If they win, they're in. They win the NFC South, and if they lose, they got to beat the Falcons next week. Which with this Bucs team, nothing is a given. The Panthers have been running with Sam Darnold as their QB for the last few weeks. They're coming off a huge win against the Lions. They dominated that game, mostly with their run game. They ran for over 300 yards. They have the offensive player of the week for the NFC and Dante Freeman at the running back position. He ran for over 160 yards. It's not a gimme. It's not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination. Given the Bucs are incredibly, much, much more talented on paper than the Panthers, but they lost to them earlier this year. So, I mean, just some initial thoughts on this game, Musab. How are we feeling about it going in? Are you nervous? Are you confident? What's your overall vibe of the situation?
I'd be lying if I said I was confident, but I would also be lying if I said I am very pessimistic. I'm trying to stay more on the optimistic side, Carter.
Sure.
But on top of that, I mean, I don't know. This is the most important game. This is a division rival who's already beat us. We're not looking good already. It's one thing if we're just rolling through every single team and we have this random fluke loss or something, but this is big for me. All right, so it scares me to know that their offensive line / running game was able to take advantage against the Detroit Lions. I don't think we're the Detroit Lions, but I also don't think that we're the top tier team right now either. So things are bound to happen, but our defense is going to come through. Again, I'm looking at our offense. I think our defense is going to be able to take advantage of the Panthers, offense. It was looking extremely, extremely rough the last time we played them, of course, as we lost. But I don't know. For me, it's just thinking, the fact that, there is a depleted cornerback kind of unit with the Panthers. Yes, we have our injuries. We're getting closer and closer to the, off season, and we're thinking about, how can we make this team perfect? If we are going to make the playoffs, you got people like Ryan Jensen, who's not going to return immediately. You got Tristan Wirfs, who's just aggravated his ankle. You got people like playoff Lenny, all right, revealing these hidden injuries, all right. And on top of that, you got Josh Wells out, who on top of that, Aaron Stinney, okay, is already out. And then, the whole Jensen thing is still a mystery mark. So defensively, I am feeling good. Offensively, I am just really sitting at the middle. I'm thinking more mystery mark. All right, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna take advantage of these opportunities we have, such as the depleted defensive back unit they have right now with Dante Jackson and Horn out.
Yeah, for sure. The Jackson and Horn combination is really, really good, but they're not healthy. So, they got to depend on CJ Henderson, the second or third year guy out of Florida, former first round pick of the Jaguars. He's going to be their number one corner, so to speak. It's brutal. It's brutal. The Panthers are definitely not a great football team, but, neither are the Bucs. So it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough. I'm with you. It's definitely gonna come down to the offense because the defense is gonna do their thing, and like it's been all year, it's just can the offense give them anything, any sort of production? And the Panthers aren't, they're not going to roll over. They're just as much in this division competition as the Bucs are. They got an interim head coach, so he's extra motivated. He's trying to get himself another job. I mean, shoot, the Lions they're not like you said, they're not the class of the NFL, but they're not an awful football team. They're second in their division. They've been keeping up with the Packers all year. They're 7-8. I mean, they're not they're not that much worse than the Bucs are, to be quite honest. I don't know. It's definitely going to be a tough matchup. Just like you said, not exactly confident, but not overly pessimistic. We'll get into our predictions, but it's kind of in the middle. So we'll get into some key matchups. Because There are a lot of them. The Panthers have some individually pretty talented players. I mean, they got that NFC Offensive Player of the Week, Dante Foreman. They also got another running back who ran for over 100 yards last week in Chuba Hubbard. And then Brian Burns versus this Bucs O line, because we've talked about this ad nauseum, the Bucs O line being so banged up, and Brian Burns is an elite level pass rusher in the NFL. DJ Moore versus a Bucs secondary that's got some question marks injuries wise. They basically their whole starting secondary is questionable. Keanu Neal, Antoine Winfield, Carlton Davis, and Jamel Dean all showed up on the injury report today, so that's brutal. And also, like you mentioned, the Bucs receivers versus this depleted this Panthers cornerback room with Dante Jackson and J.C. Horn out, and then just this Bucs front seven, because Vita Vea is also questionable. He was listed on the injury report as a limited participant today on Wednesday, so we'll see. But what are some key matchups for you, Musab? Just off the bat, what are some guys you need to watch out for on this Panthers team?
Ooh, that's good. That's a good question. Listen, Carter, everything you've been saying for me, my answer is just that it's just going to come down to the defense on both ends. Carolina's defense and our defense. Okay. We have a depleted O-line and they have their own issues. All right. We're talking about depleted cornerbacks. Okay. Because I know Tom Brady can make something happen with the wide receiver core we have. We're talking Godwin, Gage, and Evans. Okay. So for me, I'm thinking, the big thing more than anything, with this matchup is honestly offense. Really. I have very high hopes for the defense. I don't think we're going to be perfect because we have our own issues, but it's really the offense we're looking at doing anything we can to protect Tom Brady / make some space for our running backs. Okay. I've had some, the first feeling in my head when you mentioned Brian Burns was just thinking, when the Cowboys faced us and Micah Parsons kind of was looking real good against us, he was kind of embarrassing us, a young dog coming out of nowhere, embarrassing us. So I'm thinking, I hope the same doesn't happen. All right. Because, again, we barely ran over them. We had our own moments or whatever, but we had our own issues during that game. And I hope that doesn't bite us, in the back again. Okay. As physical as this game is, sometimes it turns into mental games as well, Carter. And I've always wondered, does the mental game affect, the Buccaneers? When this, when our opponents are already looking hot. I mean, you have Tom Brady, who's a veteran, who knows the game inside and out, but he's trying to fire up the boys on the sideline saying, hey, yes, we're down, but we're still going to come back. And sometimes they come back and sometimes they don't. Okay. And that's why it's the offense for me. The big thing is creating opportunities. I just think that, for me, it's just creating opportunities. We've had a lack of opportunities, and that's the issue for me. If we create more opportunities, I think we should be able to beat the Carolina Panthers. By how much, I'll reveal that soon, but it's not going to be a blowout either. I'll tell you that.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I love that you mentioned the mental game, because I think that comes down a lot to coaching. And, Todd Bowles has been kind of vilified, roasted a lot by the general public, and rightfully so. The team's been underperforming. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, the Panthers have their interim head coach, Steve Wilks, and, his players seem to love him. I mean, Derek Brown, their interior lineman, he's preaching like, hey, we want Steve Wilks next year as our head coach. They're rallying behind this guy. They seem to really be motivated to play some good football, and it's just kind of not that same kind of vibe with the Bucs. They don't seem to be super motivated to try to rally behind Todd Bowles and keep his job safe. Like, there's been no mention of Bucs players saying, hey, like, we love Todd, like, we want to keep him around, like, we're going to play hard and win some football games for him. Like, yeah, it's tough. It's difficult. It's kind of a contrasting vibe, kind of a band of misfits over in Carolina, just kind of a group of guys that weren't expected to do much, and yet they're about to possibly win the division despite their head coach being fired in the middle of the season, and Matt Rule. And on the other side, it's Bucs. They were Super Bowl contenders going into the season, and now they're barely clinging on to the division lead in one of the worst divisions in football. So, yeah, I mean, the mental game's definitely huge. I think the coaching matchup's going to be a lot bigger than I think we think it is. But yeah, it's definitely the offense is definitely going to have to deal with just trying to execute better, have a better game plan, something different. And in that same ilk, the Bucs seem to continue to be this end of the game kind of team. In the fourth quarter, they continue to succeed, but for the rest of the game, they're absolute garbage. They just seem to lack any rhythm. They lack any explosiveness offensively. So I'll ask you this, Musab, do you think they're going to try to go a little more up tempo at all, or do you think that maybe they just continue to kind of run it back with what they've been doing? How are we feeling about the offensive game plan going into this next game against the Panthers?
Good question. I think that we should keep it up tempo. I think we should fire on all cylinders. I think this is the most important game because after this, I'm thinking it's a little bit more, we take it easy or whatever. We clinch that, NFC South kind of division title, being that we beat the Panthers. But that's really about it for me. All I have to say as of, looking at the game perspective is, we should give it our all. But I also want to piggyback off of that and say, just through a futuristic lens and just a basic summary, I mean, how confident do we feel for the rest of the season? And I only say that because I'm thinking, listen, we give it our all, Carter, during this Panthers game. And some people say, all right, if the Buccaneers do win this game, that, we take it a little easy. I don't think we should take it easy. I think we should still keep it, we should keep it straight. We should, fight to the finish until the season is officially over. And then after that, we can see how we feel. Obviously, we should take it easy on the Stars or whatever, but still, I don't think this game is like, the final finisher. Some people think that, oh my God, this is it, the Bucs win this and we take it easy, blah, 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 etc. We make it in the playoffs, and that's a whole other story. All right. And we'll talk about that as weeks go on. But then again, I'm thinking, well, I mean, yeah, sure. Do the Bucs win this game? And on top of that, if they don't, then what's going to happen with that?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they handle the Falcons game in Week 18 if they win this game. Because, like you mentioned, you want to continue to build momentum and capitalize and just continue to – because, like you said, there's been no continuity. I don't know if that's a word, but regardless, there's no togetherness. There's no chemistry offensively. So you don't necessarily want to sit the starters, but at the same time, with all the injuries that have been happening, God forbid they play everyone and then Mike Evans, tears his ACL or something awful. You don't want that to happen either. So it's a brutal, difficult balance to strike here. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But then again, they could lose this Sunday and then they'll have to play their starters regardless against the Falcons. So who knows? We got a new co-host joining us. Santiago's in the building just in time for predictions too. We're right about to get into our predictions for the game. So Santiago, we'll start with you since you're just joining us. Kind of a prediction, who you think's going to win the score, and just overall thoughts on this Bucs-Panthers game going.
Yeah, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? RBLR Nation, Bucs Nation. Yeah. WWW. You know what I'm saying? The win. Yeah, I was listening in on what you guys were saying about, what you're thinking about the Panthers game and stuff. And honestly, we have to win both games. We have to build momentum going into the playoffs. Obviously first, do our business and win against the Panthers at home right now, and then close it out on a positive and win against Atlanta. I feel like, when you have a good momentum, specifically of how the struggles that we've had all season, I think that we should definitely look into that. Maybe rest the starters? Yeah, if we win this game, of course. But predictions. My prediction for this specific game coming up is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we're going to win 27-10.
All right, 27-10. Man, that's a big scoring total for this offense. It's a bit adventurous, but we'll see if they're able to capitalize. My prediction is going to be that the Bucs win this game 14-10. I am not nearly as optimistic that they're going to score that many points, but hey, it'd be great if they did. Musab, how about you? You got a prediction for us? Who's going to win in the score?
Yeah, for me, as I already mentioned, it's a big game for the Buccaneers, and even a big game for the Panthers. It's going to be a dogfight. I'm thinking back and forth. It's going to be low scoring. I don't know how low scoring this sounds, but I'm thinking 23-17 Buccaneers win. All right, because what I'm thinking is, it's a back and forth dogfight. The Panthers try to come through with a little touchdown game winner or something, but defense comes through, and we finish off with a win.
All right, I dig it. So we're all in consensus. The Bucs are going to clinch the NFC South this Sunday. That'll be exciting. I'm really hoping that they can ring in the new year, and because they're playing on New Year's Day. It'd be wonderful to ring in the new year with a Bucs victory. So in the spirit of New Year's, what are 3 New Year's resolutions that you would love for the Bucs to have moving forward this season in the Panthers game? Whatever, Santiago, we'll start with you. Some 3 New Year's resolutions for the Bucs.
3 New Year's resolutions for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, other than just winning, of course. You know what I'm saying? I want just to have, I would love for Ryan Jensen to come back. I've heard of him. I saw today that he's, starting to practice, with the team. So, that's a super positive because, it was unbelievable when he went down. I want us to do well when we get to the playoffs. I want us to do well in the playoffs and, start off with that first playoff game. Like, can we win? You know what I mean? That's what I would love to have a W. I want us to, to build chemistry together. Something that we've had deep struggles on offense. And, because our defense has pretty much kept us in the games a lot of times. But I want to see Brady to, not to, throw interceptions and, make careless mistakes. That's what I don't want us to do because he's a smart quarterback. So that's pretty much, those are 3 things that I would love to.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, those seems to be 3 things. Yeah, that would be 3 things that I would love for the Bucs to do as well. Just limiting the turnovers, building more chemistry, and definitely health is definitely a huge one. Stay healthy. Ryan Jensen coming back would be huge. Musab, how about you? What are 3 New Year's resolutions for the Bucs that you'd love to see moving forward?
Yeah, fixing the offensive turnovers. Obviously, having someone like Ryan Jensen come back, having an offensive, healthy offensive line. I guess I'll mix it in with Ryan Jensen. My third one, actually, I'll split those 2. Yeah, having Ryan Jensen healthy and offensive line is my third. I'm looking, all eyes are really on the offensive side. Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. That's where I'm looking at right now. All right. The defense, they have their own struggles. I feel like it's a little bit more natural struggles or whatever. We have a lot of guys banged out right now. So my miracle is, that everyone gets healthy on both sides. But, yeah, that's really about it for me.
For sure. Yeah, I think if I had to pick 3, it would definitely be health, cleaning up the mistakes. Like y'all have mentioned, the turnovers have been killing the Bucs. If the offense isn't going to score any points, then you can't beat yourselves. It's really tough to see that. And then the third is definitely just a little more oomph from the defense. Just more takeaways from the defense. I know that's kind of a lazy take, more takeaways and less giveaways, but that's fundamentals of football. If coaches preach it so much because it's true. The number 1 team in turnover differential in football is the Eagles. And they're the best team in football. It's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. But if you've stuck around with us this far, we'd love to thank you for listening. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like or subscribe button wherever you're listening, Spotify, YouTube, wherever people listen to podcasts these days. And then give us a follow on social media, RBLR Sports. It's definitely some cool stuff to check out on our social media team. They do a great job of making some posts. Our producer Eureka, he's always cooking some fresh stuff up in the kitchen. And next time we'll be talking to y'all, it'll be a new year. So we're going to be seeing y'all next year, 2023. And hopefully it's with a Bucs victory. Hopefully we're talking about how the Bucs are going to do in the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. Thank you again for listening. And as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.